Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here on this cold January Sunday, I guess afternoon now because it's past noon, but we got another worthless computer to take a look at. And yes, I really do mean worthless. It's got a Pentium 4 in it, let's face it, folks. It's been 20 years since the Pentium 4 was introduced, so I believe it qualifies as vintage now, but quite frankly, if you ask me, it falls under the category of too new to be vintage, because I don't think people are just quite clamoring over Pentium 4s just yet. At least I would like to believe that they're not clamoring over Pentium 4s yet, but some of my eBaying seems to suggest otherwise. But they're too old to be useful, certainly. This is a Dell Precision 340. I think I've got a Dell Precision 360 that I've shown on this channel before. This thing was absolutely filthy, and it still probably is. I've made some precursory efforts at cleaning it up, but I haven't done really much. Yeah. Well, it's not as bad as I was expecting to see, but these USB ports on the front are completely filled up with dirt. Same thing with the audio port. I don't even know if I can get those cleaned up. It's going to be unusable. It's just a headphone jack, it's not anything else. Well, kind of. Anyway. It's an older system. This is a much older system. I think it's still socket 423, but it might be 478. Frankly, I think I'd be kind of surprised if it was 478. Based on some of the platform decisions that Dell has made with this. I don't really feel like getting the air compressor out in this cold weather, because it's not nice for it to run. I think it's technically below the minimum threshold for it to work anyway, the minimum operating temperature. And again, I'm running a computer, but it's worthless junk anyway, so who cares? We got two serial ports, parallel port, your diagnostic LEDs, the old style with ABCD, amber and green, PS2 keyboard and mouse, two USB, probably 1.1 at best, Ethernet, audio. Looks like there would have been space for surround if you so desired. Does not have onboard video, so it's got a video card there. It's almost certainly AGP. And for one reason or another, somebody's installed an outboard Ethernet card. Oh, look. It's one of those JMC Daytech fans. So it probably grinds like it's making coffee. And you can oil those until the cows come home. And they will still grind like they're making coffee until the day that they die. But the other flip side of that is that they're very long-lasting. They will grind like they're making coffee until you die. Is basically how it works. So I'll go in and I'll pop the side off of this. This is one of those clamshell machines that you need two hands in order to do. In fact, it might actually be slightly broken, but yeah. It's in about the typical condition for one of these clamshells, all scratched up, and I'm not really sure why they all got so scratched up, just that they did. But this thing's probably done some long, hard hours, so I'll be kind of surprised if it still functions totally. It's been sitting around for a while. Okay, we've got it open to reveal the magic, or lack thereof, within. I'm kind of surprised to see how clean it looks inside here. It's obviously not completely dust-free or anything like that, but, you know, there's a couple of dust bunnies here and there, but it's not choked full of dirt. Kind of amazing. What Ethernet card is that? That is a Linksys card. Well, that could probably come out of there. Look at that fuzz. Yuck. Anyway, we'll come back to the motherboard here in a second. I'm curious about this hard drive. What is this? Probably like a 40. Can't even get it out of there. I don't know. Okay, it's coming out now. Holy crap, that's an 80 gig drive. Okay, well, I'm not totally surprise. 80 gigs wouldn't have been completely out of place for a Pentium 4, but for something as old as this, yeah, that's kind of large. Like I said, for something as old as this, which probably would have been put together in like 2001 or 2002, but I don't know. I don't know if it was the original. I didn't actually look. Didn't even occur to me. That battery looks very, very clean, but it's almost certainly dead. Here's the CPU. Right there. It's not a high performance type because that's just an aluminum block. Looks like all the capacitors on this board are good. So that's a promising start. These power supplies I've had some issues with in the recent past, not functioning correctly. But anyway, I'm going to assume that this is an early socket 423 Pentium 4, and the reason why I'm going to assume that has to do with the RAM situation. If you look at these, you'll notice that this is not standard PC133 or even DDR. This is what's called RAM bus RDRAM. Now, I'll probably make a separate video, and I've been talking about making a separate video of RAM bus and the history behind it at some point or another. I don't even know if it's really worth it, but this was an alternative to PC 100, I believe it would have been at the time, or maybe even PC 66. It was supposed to be touted as being so much better, but the reality was it could not really, once DDR really once SDRAM really took off, the price performance really was not there for RDRAM, and they vanished. But Intel for years was a big proponent of RDRAM, and they really only started producing SDRAM compatible chipsets once they got tired of the Taiwanese manufacturers eating their lunch, via NSIS and others. So there was a huge gap in SDRAM chips from the 440 all the way up to the 810, I believe was the first one that was produced afterwards. Anyway, so we got a bog standard optical drive and a bog standard floppy drive, and as we've now found out, an 80 gigabyte hard drive. I think all of these are jumpered for cable select. I think that was one of the other things that made these Dells kind of weird, is that you could not just jumper things for master and slave. They didn't like it. You had to jumper it for cable select and let the motherboard handle the master slaving, which I always thought was kind of weird. That's not how the IDE standard works. But I'm going to go ahead and close this back up, plug it in, fire it up, and see if it'll do anything interesting. Alright, one last thing before I close this up. I did go ahead and pull out that Ethernet card because really there's no reason for it to be in here. It's got onboard Ethernet. Unless the onboard Ethernet doesn't work. I didn't even think to check that. It's got a Quadro 2 MX installed in it. At least that's what that looks like. MXR. Whatever that's supposed to mean. So, for a precision workstation, not all that great of a video card, but it would have been better than some of the GeForce offerings of the time. If only maybe slightly. This RAM can probably be upgraded. I wouldn't be surprised if I find that's only like 256 megs at best. Well, it's 512. It looks like PC 800. RDRAM. Yeah, again, I could probably upgrade that, so it's got 512 meg in it. Or maybe 384, assuming that they're matched chips, it's 512. Which wouldn't have been too bad back in 2001, but, it's not 2001 anymore, so putting in a little bit more would be nice. 1 gig would certainly be good enough, because this is probably not going to see anything newer than Windows XP anyway. I'll probably just load XP on it and call it done. Okay, friends. Oh god, it's a screamer. I was kind of hoping it would have fluid bearings, but then again, what am I hoping for? 2001. Oh geez, I'm not going to know what this is. Or maybe I do. Alright, I guess I'm going for the good old clear password jumper. Okay. Oh, would you look at that? The date and time, I think, are actually correct. Huh. Are they? Is it really 1:30 in the afternoon? Oh, it's 12:45, so it's a little bit off, but probably hasn't adjusted for daylight savings time. That's not bad for a computer that's as old as this. That's a 2 gigahertz Pentium 4, too. 512K of level 2 cache. It might be a socket 478. One of the later cores, but I think that's kind of doubtful. So let's see. I think it sees everything just fine. There's the hard drive that's just shrilling away over there. That's the thing I don't miss about old hard drives with ball bearings. God, that noise drives me nuts. Anyway, we got 512 meg of RAM, 400 megahertz, so yeah, that's PC 800. It's ECC memory too, so that's not bad. You probably look that up, that processor ID, and find out exactly what this is. In fact, I might actually do that. Well, that's interesting. Now, it's not totally conclusive. The things I was able to find online indicate that that's a Northwood core on a socket 478 platform. Kind of surprised that RDRAM managed to last that long. Maybe it was just that Dell was bleeding off old stock. So, I'm going to leave all the settings standard. I don't think I need to do too much with that. AC recovery. I will change that because now we can just set to last. Save and exit. Reboot, see if it boots into anything interesting. My guess is it's probably just running Windows XP, if anything else. Oh, maybe not. It's got a grub bootloader on it. It's gonna boot Fedora Core. Yeah, that probably won't work. Fedora Core 3. Wow, this has not been touched in a long time. Quite honestly, this is probably just I'm just gonna install Windows XP on this anyway, because it's not really worth doing that much more with it. Oh, that's creative. Oh, now it's gonna do a file system check. Oh, that's nice. I wish that display would go away, because it seems to be working anyway. So, whatever. I'm gonna go see if I can find my Windows XP disk, and then we'll move on. Well, this is interesting. I guess I'm opening this computer again, because the optical drive doesn't seem to work. It sees it. It's right there. At least I assume that it sees it, and it's not caching that in some way, but... it does absolutely nothing. And it looks like somebody drilled a hole in this at some point. Which is kind of interesting. But, the computer's going to get a nice little upgrade in the form of a DVD drive now. It's got a DVD-ROM CDRW. And wow, does that ever not want to close. So, we'll flip this back up. Or we'll try to. I thought I could do it on camera. And maybe I can, I don't know. It wasn't very easy. I'm sure that I pointed the camera up at the ceiling for most of it. Oh, the video got unplugged. That's good. That's very nice of it. If I'd tightened the thing down, it wouldn't have gotten unplugged, but... anyway. Okay. Optical drive. That works a lot better. I'm telling you what. It actually ejects now. I gotta go into setup because it looks like the booting to Optical, it still calls it out as a CD-ROM reader, but at least it knows what it is now. Or at least it knows what it is. It knew what it was before, too. Boot sequence. Enable. Enable. Save and exit. We'll see if we can boot to the CD-ROM, if it'll actually work. That disk is a little damaged, so I don't know if it will actually work. Of course, I'm making the bold assumption that this optical drive also works. Well, it's trying. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, well, it sounds like dirt. But it was, at least for a second there, trying to work. I don't know if this optical drive is functioning. Really kind of doubt it, to be honest with you. That's a different Windows XP disk. It's getting further than the other one did, but... yeah, I don't know. That sounds like that drive is really struggling. Well, that's irritating. Spend about 65 million years waiting for it to load stuff, and what does it do? Yeah. So, I think we're going to probably move on from this, and I'll take a look at it later, because I've got other projects I need to work on. I don't have time to sit here and wait for it to load all over again. I don't think it's going to load off of a USB stick. I think it's too old for that. And it clearly does not want to work from CD, so... yeah, it claims that there's an ACPI problem. There's no ACPI problem, it's just being stupid. I'll see if it'll do it for me. The amount of system memory has changed. Now, this computer definitely has some issues. It just blue screened with an ACPI error trying to install Windows. And it got pretty upset with me. Oh, now it's not seeing the keyboard. That's interesting. I don't know why it's not doing that. So I'll turn it off. Okay, there's my keyboard. So let me see if I can find something in here. If we display the event log, oh yeah, we've got problems all over the place. So you can see that, yeah, we definitely have some, I think there's a memory module in here that's not totally functional. So, I don't know. I don't know why I can't boot this with, boot this into Windows XP. I don't know, maybe we'll try running Windows 2000 on it instead. Because that's the only thing I can think of. I don't know why it'd be giving me that kind of problem. Okay, well, here comes Windows 2000. Seems like it's going to work, so I don't know what that's all about. I read that very carefully, you see. This is an 80 gigabyte hard drive, it looks like. Yes. Here to install NTFS. The problem with Windows 2000 is that that's going to have to... I can't do a quick format on that. So now I'm going to have to wait for it to format that drive entirely. Which is entertaining, I'm telling you. Let me see there the LEDs. Which are actually... they're still pretty dim in the grand scheme of things, but they're not too bad for one of these so-called uglyplex designs. Excuse me. But I'm probably going to have to figure out the RAM bus memory situation on this, because I think there might be something wrong there. change the memory. I think I've got some rims around here somewhere out of something or another. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to get through this. It's still at 0%. Is it doing anything at all? Yeah, it's doing something. Well, it's been 2 days, maybe even 3 days exactly since I last looked at this. The good news is that all the time that it's been, the computer hasn't died. The bad news is that it looks like it's got a problem anyway. So, am I allowed to? No. Probably not, and I don't think I'm going to sit there and wait for that. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to find another disk for this. I've certainly got a bunch of them sitting out here. So, we'll just grab a different disk and start anew, I suppose. Okay, it's a little bit quieter, but not much, because it's still a ball bearing drive, but I swapped out the drive for an 80GB Hitachi, but I don't think that really helped. I still can't format the full 80 gigs, it still fails, and I created a smaller partition which passes, but now I can't transfer any of the files off the disk. So I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if it's even trying to read the disk. Yeah. So, yep, that makes no difference. It's still broken. So I'm starting to get suspicious of the memory in this machine because I know that I've had problems when I reboot. It gives me some RAM issues. In fact, I almost wonder if it's going to do that here. No, pass the power on self-test. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the memory on this. And we'll see if we get any further. Now it's been even longer. It's now Friday. Of the same week, I guess. So this thing's been running for almost a week now. Changing the memory appears to have worked. So, that's good, I guess. So I guess we'll just finish off setup. Alright. That is now concluded. So now the next phase of setup starts. That is, I am now going to have to find all the drivers for this machine. Although I'm wondering if I can actually run Windows XP setup now. And then change the memory. Or, yes, change the memory. I don't think so, because it was an ACPI compliance issue, which seems kind of odd to me, but I don't know, maybe the Precision 340 is just old enough that the ACPI is not quite functional under Windows XP. But yeah, it is definitely going to need drivers. Look at that. Lovely, like, 16 color display. It's my computer, so what do I care? I have no idea what video card that actually is. So, well, it sees quite a bit. It actually does see the network too, so that's kind of cool. And the audio. Maybe. No, multimedia audio controller. So yeah, it doesn't see that, but everything else it looks like it sees, so I could probably put this thing onto the network, or onto the internet, and download stuff that way. Okay, I don't know what I expected to hear, but it wasn't that. Oh god, okay. I think we've seen one of the downsides of the analog devices audio chipset obviated. What the hell? I don't think I've ever actually heard that before. Oh man. That's too much. What the heck is going on? I don't get it. That's just that's wrong. That is so very wrong. Wow. I don't... Why? Okay, well, I guess that's what the audio's like. So let's see. Should be able to... Well, that's not going to support that. That's too much. That is too much, my friend. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I don't know about that. That's just... That is too much. Okay, well, I'll just finish, or continue to customize. So, yeah. I think we are pretty much good to go. I don't think there's any audio files on this. I don't think Windows 2000 comes with those. But, certainly, I think we're pretty much done with this now. So, what I'll probably do is I'll go ahead, maybe in the future, try and install Windows XP on this as an upgrade, but I guess for the time being, we're good to go. There are Windows XP drivers for the system, so I'm kind of wondering why XP wasn't running. Because it's also got the most latest BIOS on it. So, whatever. I guess for now that's pretty much it, including the way too fast audio. I'm pretty sure that's a byproduct of the Analog Devices Sound Min audio chipset that this thing has. Just not being very good, like it usually isn't. That's too good. Wow.